Good morning. So today we're going to be having a little Dharma talk on the chakras. So as you can see, I've surrounded myself with lots of inspiration. I thought I would kind of do a combination of just trusting, my instincts and a little preparation, and we'll see what we come up with. But let's start with just getting grounded. So finding your comfortable seat. So again, maybe with just a little bit of intuition, I've been thinking a lot about Sitala, or cooling breath. It's interesting that as the weather starts to get cooler, that this breathing or pranayama practice would come to mind for me, because it tends to be brought in more in the summertime to provide a cooling to the body. But I feel just we're in a little bit of a state of inflammation for a lot of reasons, and this idea of cooling might be a good way to start our practice. So Sitala, or cooling breath, I was always averse to teaching this because it's done with a curled tongue, and curling your tongue is actually a genetic characteristic that some people have and some people don't have the ability to curl their tongue, and I do not. But then I figured out a way to do it without having to curl the tongue that felt really good to me. So certainly if you're one of those people, when you stick out your tongue, that you can make it come into that pretty little loop, you can do that and imagine you're drinking in your breath with your straw. If you're like me, you're just going to almost make like a little pucker lip and imagine you're drinking in breath like that, and you'll see in just a second. But as we do this breath, really imagine you're drinking in this cooling breath from the universe. We could almost already start to think of the chakras and that central line that runs down our body in yoga philosophy called the Sushumna, that clear, bright line of energy that runs down our center that all the chakras line up on. More on that later. But we could imagine that beautiful line and connection. We could think about creating balance in one of the chakras if we're already aware of the chakras, or we could just use this as an opportunity to get grounded. So again, find your comfortable seat, and if you can curl your tongue and make it be like a little straw, do that, or just purse your lips. Take a full breath in. As you exhale, close your mouth, relax your shoulders, allow the exhale to fall over you. Inhale, purse the lips. Suck in that breath. Exhale, relax shoulders, and allow the breath to settle. So try that several more times on your own, at your own pace. Make sure you're keeping your shoulders relaxed and not scrunching up as you take in that inhale. And you might close your eyes. Maybe imagining a white thread that runs up and down your spine. That this breath is bringing in more balance. Cooling any areas of inflammation in your body, your belly, your heart, your throat, your mind, your thoughts. And as you exhale with closed lips, just allow yourself to receive that cooling property. when you're ready, just allow your breath to come back to normal. Maybe keep your eyes closed for a moment and just feel the effects of that small practice. It can be a beautiful doorway into meditation or just a mini practice to use to provide that cooling effect. All right. So the chakras. So much information. I thought I would start by just offering some kind of definitions of the chakras from different sources. It was so warm. I mean, so cool. I know the sun's coming out and it's getting a little warmer. I think I'll at least take this off. So let's start with, I have a couple definitions of the chakras for you. I'm going to start with this one. This is from Yoga for Transformation by Gary Kraftstell. So I was reading this last night and I found it kind of interesting because, you know, you think you know all this about chakras and that and this and that, and then you read something, you're like, wow, that's interesting, didn't know that. So I kind of found his take interesting. So he describes the chakras as symbols of wheels or lotuses. The ancients conceived of three main vertical channels, the nadis. Within our body, the sushumna, that central channel that we just spoke of, idya, the left channel, and pignali, the right channel. Let's just digress a little bit because those two channels might be something new or different for you. So I thought I'd just explain them a little bit. This whole idea of the sushumnas and those lines of energy definitely tie into the chakras. So we'll start with that base. So the idya is the main channel on the left side of the body. It's symbolically identified as the lunar or the feminine channel, or it's associated with the left nostril flow, that calming, cooling property of the left nostril to calm the nervous system. Like the moon, it's also said to have a changing character. It represents materiality or prakriti, the changing. And that's, again, something I had never heard of before when related to Igna and Pingali. This idea of the left side is related to the changing or prakriti nature of us, symbolically representing the feminine quality. And then the Pingala is the main channel on the right side of the body. So think of two channels kind of running opposite of that main channel, the sushumna. It's symbolically identified as the solar channel, Suranadi. This channel has a heating quality, like the sun. It is said to have a steady, unchanging character. It represents consciousness, Purusha, which is unchanging and eternal. It symbolically represents the masculine quality. Just finding that whole topic rather interesting when we think of the right side of the nostril being a little bit more activating, being more heating, being characterized more by the male characteristics, and then the left as being more feminine. I don't know, I just share on this, when it is speaking to the left side being more changeable, like water, variable, flexible, all those kind of feminine characters. At first my ego took a little hit, thinking, wait a minute, why is the left side, the female side, related to prakriti, that unchanging? I associated that with monkey mind. And why is the right side associated more with stability, unchanging, sun quality? But I'm just going to say, even for me personally and in my marriage, my husband definitely is that right side. He is the stability, perhaps rigidity sometimes. And I am more of the changeable nature, I guess you'd say. So anyways, that's a complete digression from our chakra talk. I just thought that was interesting. So let's get back to the chakras. Maybe we'll have a little discussion on that later. So again, he talks of these channels. And then the chakra model describes 7 reference points in the body organized around the central channel, the Sushumna, which represent the meeting point of these 3 major channels. They are described variously as wheels and lotuses. Each of the chakras corresponds to specific natural elements, sensory functions, and vital organs. They also represent certain emotional characteristics and qualities. And this is the part that I thought was kind of interesting that I hadn't heard of before. The ancients taught that the chakras are vital and active. Their movement is linked to the movement of energy. Yes, I knew that part. In the channels, the nadis, as discussed in the previous chapter. Much like the water wheel is spun by the flow of water. For prana to reach the chakras, the passage must be clear. The wheels can inappropriately spin too fast, too slow, and either discontinuously or intermittently. They can also be tilted on their axis. I thought that was interesting. Displaced to the right or the left, pulled up too high or dropped too low, and the lotuses can inappropriately sag or fold, bent to one side or another, be lifted too high or dropped too low. These defects in the chakras can have a local effect on organ function, as well as detrimental influence on specific emotional characteristics. I just thought that was interesting when he talked about them sagging and folding or being up or down. Who else speaks similarly to that? Yes, definitely. So if you're truly interested in the chakras and really want to dive deep into them, I would definitely recommend the work of Anna Day Judith. This is her book, Eastern Body, Western Mind. And as you can see, it's quite the text. So lots of information here, particularly on the psychological aspect of the chakras. She really dives deep into that. So let me give you her definition of the chakras. The chakra system is a 7-level philosophical model of the universe. Chakras have come to the West through the tradition and practice of yoga. Yoga is a discipline designed to yoke together the individual with the divine, using mental and physical practices that join our mundane and spiritual lives. This goal is achieved by passing through steps of ever-expanding states of consciousness. The chakras represent these steps. A chakra is a center of organization that receives, assimilates, and expands life force energy. The word chakra literally translates as wheel or disc and refers to a spinning sphere of bioenergetic activity emanating from the major nerve ganglia branches, following from the spinal cord. There are 7 of these wheels stacked in a column of energy that spans from the base of the spine to the top of the head. The chakra system originated in India more than 4,000 years ago. Chakras are not physical entities in and of themselves, like feelings or ideas. They cannot be held like a physical object, yet they have a strong effect upon the body as they express the embodiment of spiritual energy on the physical plane. I could go on and on, but that's basically her definition of the chakras. I really like this book. One thing that, and again, no judgment, but she talks a lot about, when we talk of the chakras, sometimes we talk about deficiencies, excesses, and even, I think I opened to a page, let's see if it'll come to me now. Of course it probably won't. Oh, I opened it up and it said something like the demons of the chakras. So sometimes, and again, this is just me, you guys know me, I tend to veer on the lighter side of things. Sometimes I feel kind of like with the doshas where we talk about excesses, deficiencies, things like that. I think it can make people feel rather not whole. And we all know we need to make shifts and changes to, make ourselves feel whole or remember that we are whole. But sometimes I think, again, just me personally, the talk of excesses, deficiencies, like if you ever took a chakra test, did you feel like you failed? I have. So, that's just me. So, let me read you another definition of the chakras. And this is from The Pure Heart of Yoga by Robert Butera. And this one, let's see, it's pretty short. Let's see, oh no, where'd my little sticky go? Okay, here we go. Chakra theory is a holistic paradigm that includes fields like psychology, physiology, astrology, and energy anatomy, how prana moves through the body. It also considers naturalistic elements such as color and sound. We haven't talked about that yet. Chakra theory examines the interaction between the whole and the part, and can also be called holistic awareness. The system encompasses every level of human nature, from the intangible spirit to the tangible atom and everything in between. The following paragraphs offer brief summaries of the 7 chakras, pointing towards breathing, meditation, affirmation, and suggestions. Ways to balance. And we'll be talking about that as we go along. But I just liked the simplicity of his definition, in that it's a system of holistic and wholeness. His chakras are emotional, spiritual feedback systems. I like that. A chakra or energy center is where the 3 lines intersect at the spiral up the spine. These energy centers have unique physical associations with subtle environmental life. Spiritual energy is absorbed and distributed to the cells, organs, and tissues. It's just neat when you think about one thing, and this is life, right? We look in the dictionary and we find one definition, or we go to the doctors and we want one answer. But if you open 200 different books, you might get slightly different takes on the chakra systems. So that was my idea in bringing you some of the base definitions of chakras. And for me personally, I find them a way to direct attention and, again, direct students or myself back to balance. If I notice that one of them might be feeling a little off, what could I do to bring it back? And we'll talk a bit more about that later. Let me offer you one more definition, and then we'll start to really break down each chakra individually. I'm actually going to use this book quite a lot because I really like, this is from Dario Nardi, and I like his take on some of the drawings that he provides, as well as his suggestions for balancing the chakras. So we're going to take from his book. And this book is called Young on Yoga. Basically, Carl Jung, who was a psychologist back in the 1930s, and very famous psychologist, but I'm not sure how well known it is that he was also very interested in yoga, particularly Kundalini yoga and the chakra systems, as a way to, again, align psychologically. So he worked a lot with the chakras. So this is the definition by Dario Nardi, who I feel really kind of channels Carl Jung a little bit. Let's see. As part of his practice, Kundalini focuses on chakras, psychological energy centers that run from the bottom of the spine to the crown of the head. Often we can get caught up in a particular chakra, such as getting overly intellectual. In contrast, Kundalini helps us stay flexible and free. A metaphor for the chakras is the color spectrum. Moving through the chakras is like moving along the colors of the rainbow, from red to orange at one end to blue and purple to the other. Like shifts in colors, shifts in consciousness are gradual, and yet each chakra has its unique theme, just as different colors matter. Thus, as we read about the chakras in the coming pages, going from the first to the last, the theme will shift gradually, and within each are meaningful differences. I like how he talks of the chakras as biological centers and also as gateways. Chakras tend to sit between major organs rather than map one to one. For example, the second chakra sits between the sex organs and the gut, while the sixth chakra sits between the pituitary and the pineal gland. Perhaps each chakra is a midpoint on a path in where energy flows in the nervous system between organs. Thus, the chakra is like a gateway. If the gateway is pinched, then energy flows poorly and a person feels discomfort or cut off below that point. A goal then of Kundalini exercises is to fully open gateways and pump energy along the path. Since our nervous system has two modes, fight or flight versus eat or sleep, each chakra might really be two gates. Interesting. Hopefully I'm not bombarding you with too many theories of the chakras, but I just thought it would be interesting to kind of get a couple different ideas and insights. So now what we'll do is we'll just break down each of the chakras individually and speak on them. Let's begin each chakra with just a little moment of breath awareness, and I'll direct your energy and your breath into the different chakra centers. So find your comfortable seat. Maybe close your eyes and bring your awareness to the way that your sitting bones are touching your chair or your cushion. Breathe fully and deeply all the way down to that very base of the spine where this chakra is housed. Maybe as you exhale, you lightly pull up on the pelvic floor. Mula Bandha. Inhale down into the floor of the pelvis. Exhale, lightly pull up the floor of the pelvis, feeling that energy there. Just a few times. The color associated with this chakra is red. Maybe you visualize red, any particular shade of red. This chakra is also associated with earth. So I tend to think of earthy red clay, but maybe you think of a different color red. Breathe. Feel the weight of your bones. Beautiful. And if one of these chakra centers is really calling to you, you might just pause the video and linger there a little bit. Stay with the breathing into that chakra center. So this chakra center, as I mentioned, is associated with earth, with a feeling of groundedness, a sense of belonging. So each chakra and I sometimes refer back to this book here from my little nifty chart, but is associated with different areas of development. So the root chakra is associated with even being in the womb, so from prenatal to about 12 months. So, and it's associated again with that feeling of safety. So we need to have had a warm, nurturing upbringing to really start cultivating this feeling of safety and belonging. And if we haven't, we can cultivate it on our own. So if we haven't had those areas fulfilled by another, we have the capacity to kind of work on that ourselves and cultivate that feeling of belonging by doing some root chakra work. So root chakra work might involve on the yoga mat standing poses, feeling grounded, or meditations where we're really focusing on that sensation of the sitting bones down to the earth. Other ways to develop the root chakra are being outside, nature, connecting to earth, feeling a sense of belonging. And again, if it's not to your immediate family, it could be to your yoga community, to your family, your little nuclear family. Just ways to cultivate that feeling of belonging to your culture, being proud of your heritage, things like that. So Carl Jung and Dario Nardi, I wanted to show you his basically like a mandala. He drew a mandala for each of these, so I hope you can see them. So this first one, he entitles it First Chakra, Soil and Seed. It says, we are born and grown from the earth and its bounty, learning cultural and family traditions, and to the earth we must return. So I hope you can see his interesting depiction there. Just take a moment to take it in. And then he speaks of ways to find balance, and I'll just speak on them briefly. So the first thing he says is get grounded. Yes. Check with reality. Take stock of your material needs and the facts of your current situation. When looking for solutions, focus on facts on the ground and tangible material resources that you can tap into. Question assumptions. Just because you grew up a certain way or most people follow a norm doesn't mean it works for you. If you engage in daily habits or follow a belief that isn't examined yet, consider researching it, maybe setting it aside, or finding new daily habits that cultivate this sense of groundedness. He speaks of shedding excessive possessions, living in a healthy, kind of clutter-free physical space. So going back to the yamas and niyamas, sosha, purity. Put down roots. Make a place you call home. During meditation or yoga, connect to the earth. Breathe deeply into your belly and focus on the earth as your support. He ends each of these recommendations with these simple words. Give thanks each day. And he gives a different focus for each chakras. I really, really like that. So for the root chakra, he talks about give thanks for your meals and other material benefits in your life. Focus on what you have rather than what you lack. A great way to show thanks for material comfort and success is to personally share some of that with others. So that's his take on the root chakra. So let's take a moment to let that sit, settle. Come back to comfortable seat. Feel those sitting bones still really grounded. And move your awareness up to the sacral area right in the lower belly. This is our sacral chakra, the second chakra. A chakra associated with water, fluidity, movement. So in this mini meditation, allow yourself to rock back and forth, or circle. Sometimes in our meditation we feel like we need to sit still as a statue. But in this movement, we can kind of work through some things, be it physical tension, maybe provide that sense of flow that's associated with this chakra. So just close your eyes, breathe, but allow yourself to just organically move. And the color associated with this chakra is orange. So when you're ready, let stillness come in. Take another breath or two. Even feel the movement in the stillness, that watery, tide-like nature of your own breath. Ready, open your eyes. So we talked about the sacral chakra being associated with movement. It's also associated with creativity, healthy sexuality, expression. So let's go back because I don't want with developmental. It's developed from 6 months to 2 years. So, kind of in that toddler area where we're kind of moving out and starting to express a little bit more independence, recognize that the world isn't just within us and within mom. So, moving out a little bit. It's associated with our emotional identity, whereas the root chakra is associated a little bit more with our physical identity. So those are the basics when it comes to the sacral chakra. So for sacral chakra work, I'll tend to bring in fluid movement like water. Particularly the area it's focused on sometimes is this area where it's housed in the pelvis, in the hips. Thinking of it's where our emotional expressions may come from. So doing some hip opening maybe that's where the hip opening comes in, right from the second chakra. I always questioned that, why hip opening and emotions, so maybe that's it. Interesting. Sometimes I wish you guys were here so we could bounce some of these ideas off together, but we can do that another time. So let me come to Young on Yoga and show you his mandala for the second chakra. And interesting, he calls this one danger and renewal. We can dive deep to face dangers, mysteries, and fears as we use our talents, search for treasure, and gain renewal. Dive deep to face dangers, mysteries, and fears. What do we stuff in those hips or in our gut that we just don't want to deal with? Emotions that we don't want to allow ourselves. So here's the picture. Of course, it has to do with water. Take a moment to take that in. And then I just wanted to briefly read you on his take on how to create balance. Right off the bat, he says, get vibrant. Here are some mindful activities with this chakra to cultivate vibrant health and happiness. Nurture your body. Shift away from addictive behaviors, away from stimulants and depressants such as sugar, alcohol, and recreational drugs. At the same time, move towards healthy alternatives such as exercise, gardening, meditation, healthy food, yoga. Listen to your gut, he says. Be safe with people. Surround yourself with others of mutual trust and respect. I like that. Cultivate the arts and adventure, creativity. Even if you tell yourself you're not artistic, you're not creative, think of ways that you could tap into that. Maybe it's just getting on your mat and playing with your yoga. Renew your environment, he says. And during meditation or yoga, connect to your gut. Feel out areas of tightness, restricted breathing. With care for yourself, gently bring up triggers and negative memories, and use breath and motion to help release them. Give thanks each day. Here's his give thanks each day for the second chakra. Give thanks each day to the supportive people in your life. Recall what they've said or done that you are grateful for. Remember, it takes 5 positives to count 1 negative. Include anyone who helps in your daily routine. It takes 5 positives to counter 1 negative. That was definitely one of my parenting, like basically the only parenting technique that worked for me. And I guess going back to those early toddler or babyhood days of reinforcing the good, rather always punishing and pointing out the bad. So, interesting. So moving on to our third chakra, take a moment to, again, get still. Feel your sitting bones. Feel the flow of breath. And then maybe place your hand on your solar plexus, which is right at kind of below the heart and at the top of the ribs. So place your hands on your solar plexus. Close your eyes. Visualize this bright band of yellow. This chakra is associated with power center, your sense of will, choice. Even though you're sitting, could you imagine, visualize yourself standing up? Visualize yourself standing up in your mountain pose. Standing up for yourself. Visualize this bright sun within you, around you. your sense of power, not coming from exterior but within you. Stand up. You are worthy. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So, I always find the developmental stage of the solar plexus to be spot on. So, the solar plexus comes in from 18 months to 4 years. It's our ego identity. It's associated with our right to act. So if you ever spent time with a 3-year-old, you know that this is their time where they're expressing their right to act. This is mine, this is not yours. Really standing up for themselves, and that's healthy behavior. As much as can be frustrating for parents, it's definitely healthy behavior. So, yeah, standing up for themselves. And sometimes that gets shoved down when we get to be grown-ups because we forget that, or society teaches us differently. Society might suggest that we put that aside a little bit and conform. So the idea of standing up for ourselves, standing up for our basic needs is really important. So again, this is associated with kind of the gut, the fire element. So any fiery practice that we might do, such as sun salutations, building a little bit of heat, would be healthy for the solar plexus chakra. Core work, feeling into our core, feeling strong. These things bring balance to the solar plexus on a meditation level. Things like candle gazing, like we did in our mini meditation, focusing on the sun or a fire within, this sense of our own ability to transform or transmute that what doesn't serve solar plexus and fire. So let's take a look at Dario Nardi's take on the solar plexus, the 3rd chakra. So this is interesting. So he talks of action and projection. With truth as a guide star, we are energized to take action towards goals, though we can get extreme, demonizing and idolizing. So I think he's talking of a solar plexus that can get on that excessive and an ego that's excessively dominating and not allowing the bigger picture thinking of others' thoughts. So this one's kind of interesting. Take a moment to notice. Lot going on there. So to balance, suggestions from Dario Nardi, he talks about cultivating an empowered life based in values. Cultivate an empowered life based in values. Focus on your strengths Identify and develop your talents. Identify ideals and goals. Be resourceful. Pay attention to your gut. What excites you and motivates you? What helps you walk tall so that you speak and act with confidence, energy, and resilience? Perhaps join a community. Tame the myth maker. Name the mythic role that you project onto others, including people and groups you do not know, such as celebrities and politicians. Trust that they are human like you, not monsters or saviors. Take off the myth lens by listing your commonalities as well as your differences. I'm just going to let that one speak for itself. During meditation or yoga, bring your hands to your solar plexus. Visualize flames. When standing and moving, stay erect and confident. Good posture. Focus on ways to build, heal, and help using your unique gifts. And on his give thanks each day. Give thanks each day to something larger than yourself. Be thankful for your talents, successes, and lessons gained from setbacks. Find ways to regularly reconnect with your values, re-energize yourself, and stay true to your goals through mutual aid, prayer, and other practices. I really like his take on the solar plexus when speaking of a healthy ego and values. So take a moment to settle into your seat as we move our way up towards the heart chakra. Feel those sitting bones, fluidity of breath, strength in your body, strength in your truth, and allow your breath to settle into the area in and around your heart. Allow the breath to flow into the front, the back, the sides of the heart. Relax your face. The color associated with the heart chakra is green. A verdant green. Sometimes people bring in the color pink though. See what comes up for you. As you take a few more breaths into your heart space, identify yourself as being loving and lovable, as well as feeling that kind of base quality of love and wholeness emanating from your own heart. You can always pause and linger in any of these chakra centers if you're feeling the need to just sit in it. But if you're ready to move on, so in the day, Judith, Eastern body, Western mind, has this funky little chart on developmentally when the chakras develop, as well as some of their other properties. So the heart chakra starts to develop a little bit more from 4 to 7 years old. It's associated a little bit more with our social identity and our right to love and be loved. So 4 to 7 years old, social identity, we're probably starting school, starting to be around other people. I like how, especially I would just bring these up for the heart chakra, she talks of the excessive and the deficient characteristics. So first of all, it's kind of an air element. We've talked about earth, water, fire. Now we've moved up to air. But so when it comes to the heart chakra, excesses may be codependence, poor boundaries, possessiveness, and jealousy. Deficiencies might be a feeling of loneliness, lack of empathy, critical, or shy. All of these things could have their roots in that early childhood where we're not, where we don't develop healthy social relations with our peers or our family, perhaps. So to cultivate this heart chakra, so vital on our yoga mat to work on this, because it's just rich with opportunities to open our hearts in back bending, allowing ourselves to be a little vulnerable in back bending, allowing ourselves to brace ourselves, to forward fold and still feel safe, to just breathe into all the parts of our heart. Again, to allow ourselves to feel safe enough to open our hearts, even to our own selves, and start to develop that loving relationship with ourselves that we sometimes push aside, and just work on giving when we're not filling up our own cup and loving ourselves. So I think heart chakra for a woman especially has a lot to do with nurturing and loving ourselves and feeling ourselves. Even these chakras all kind of link up and inform ourselves. So if we're not feeling worthy, that third chakra, how would we be able to love ourselves? So feeling, allowing them to kind of link up and inform each other. So when we feel worthy, then we can nurture. Loving kindness meditation is a nice way to work on the heart chakra, where we're extending loving kindness, goodwill to ourselves, and then outwards towards others. Really can be a very powerful practice for the heart. Wrong book. So let's take a look at Dario Nardi's visualization or little mandala for the heart chakra. So he speaks of the fourth chakra as balance and intimacy. The heart is our tree of compassion for self and others. And over life seasons, we find completeness as we stay true to love. So here's his picture. And I like how he brings in the seasons here. Maybe seasons over our lifetime. It's just interesting. So let's consider some of his recommendations for the heart chakra. Right off the bat, get loving. Here are some mindful activities with this chakra to cultivate lasting, intimate relationships. Number 1, cherish your life and gifts. Know your loved ones. Take stock of those you trust with your heart, that you care about deeply, and they you. They are loved ones. Take time to listen. Consider how they compliment you and cover your flaws. Be gentle with loved ones. Be thoughtful in your words and deeds. Treat others as you want to be treated. Flex your heart. An open heart has room for infinite compassion. Do not let your care for others slip into emotional overreach or overcare. Practice loving kindness. During meditation or yoga, maybe you focus on your heartbeat. Feel your heart's warmth as you visualize loved ones. Lead with your heart in your physical movements. And give thanks for this chakra. Give thanks each day for God's divine love. If you wish, use another term like the divine, the source, or the universe. Whatever you say, when you open your heart to the divine, you open yourself to the fruits of this chakra, deeper patience and love. Take a moment to close your eyes. Let that settle. Come back to your roots. Come back to the fluid quality of your breath, your solar plexus, your heart. And allow your breath to now flow up into your throat. Completely relax your shoulders and your jaw. Maybe open your jaw, close it. Maybe bring in Ujjayi ocean breathing. Hear the sound of your breath in your throat. I heard Ujjayi breath called a light sound like a chord on a violin the other day. See if you can hear your own breath, like a soft, beautiful note from a violin string. The color associated here is usually a deep purple. Take a moment to listen to the sound of your own breath. And when you're ready, you open your eyes. So let's see, developmentally, the throat chakra is associated with ages 7 to 12 years. It's related to our creative identity. The element is sound. And it's related to being able to speak and be heard. That's the basic right of this chakra. So think about from 7 to 12 years old. We're still starting to have our own ideas, really express ourselves. So you may think of a child that is always told to be quiet, stop making so much noise. Children are meant to be seen rather than heard. That's back from, what, the 40s or the 50s. But, yeah, those times in childhood where we're not really allowed to have our own voice. And it might be, a childhood situation where the child is already the parent, and just not allowed to be childlike. They're pressed to be more adult-like. So all those things could come into play with throat chakra issues of not just truly being able to speak our own truth. So again, we don't want to think of these developmental stages as being like, you are stuck in that. Like, you weren't nurtured, you weren't allowed to speak your truth. Well then, forevermore, you will never speak your truth. It's not like that. It's about going back and maybe visiting that and just revisiting it and maybe saying, okay, well that's why. That's why I have trouble with this. And meeting that child with compassion and love and recognizing, but wait a minute, I'm not that child anymore. I'm a grown man, I'm a grown woman. How can I move forward and create this healing for myself? So it's not, you didn't get that, you're done. No. We are our own unique healers. So all ways to heal ourselves. So work on the throat chakra. As a younger yoga teacher, I was kind of encouraged to work on this chakra center, and some advice I was given was singing, chanting, visualizing the color blue in my throat. And just all of those things really, it did help me to speak my truth a little bit more freely. Physical practice that can work on the throat are anything to do, obviously, with the head and the neck, this connection between the head and the body and the throat. Chanting, like I said, singing, vibration. The healing is sound, so any sounds, humming, can be really helpful for kind of clearing out this chakra. So let's take a look. I hope you guys are enjoying these mandalas. Thought they were just an interesting thing to share. So this is for the throat chakra, and this is for speech and reason. From lungs to throat and passing the lips, we use language to convey feelings and knowledge. Through words, the words are as fickle as the wind. Interesting. So here's the picture. I'm reflecting on that. Words are as fickle as wind. He's got a lot of words written around this mandala. My interpretation of that is right speech. Because sometimes we use our words just to take up space and not have silence. I don't know. He could be coming from somewhere different, but let's come to his recommendations. So the first thing he says is get fluent. Here are some mindful activities with this chakra to cultivate speaking and a reasoning ability. Number 1, listen objectively. So it's not even about speaking. Listen objectively. Practice stepping back to listen to yourself and others as if you were a third-party observer. You may notice behavior that is defensive, aggressive, prideful, over-dramatic, fear-mongering, or egotistical. Evaluate new sources in the same way. Think systematically. Learn and apply a stepwise system, such as scientific method. Be sure to frame your conclusions as tentative and follow logical from these processes. Speak effectively. Seek feedback. Map your growth. During meditation, sing your neck, keeping your throat clear and chanting with clarity. Conversely, extend your periods of silence, both literally and quieting your mind's chatter. Further on, you may find yourself ready to sing, play a musical instrument, or for verbal guidance, or otherwise help others in their practice. And give thanks each day for your education, whatever its form, particularly it provided for. Today we enjoy tremendous global spanning avenues of communication and information gathering. Think of people you've met or kept in touch with. Also give thanks for your freedom to speak. Take a moment of stillness. Feel that foundation moving up your chakra system. Stability in those roots. And just moving up. Relax your throat. And start to bring your attention to the third eye right between the brows. Maybe touch it. Place a finger on your third eye. You feel the cool or the warmth of your fingertip there. Breathe. This quality is chakra is a sense of lightness, inner knowing. Maybe you visualize a light from within, shining out from that third eye. If you hear any noises in the background, touch that third eye again, turn inward. Know this inner light goes with us, with all the noise and chaos, kind of like our true north. Take a moment to mirror. So the sixth chakra, the third eye or Agni, developmentally comes in around adolescence. And it's our right to see. Associated with light. I find that interesting that it comes in at adolescence and it's our right to see. Many times, adolescence, it is a time of exploring and being your own person. And sometimes people or teenagers are kind of sequestered and not really allowed that opportunity to see the world and through their own eyes. So I find that interesting. So that's leading me to talk a little bit about the excessive and the deficient. So deficient, poor memory, poor vision, unimaginative. Excessive, headaches, nightmares, difficulty concentrating. It's also related to kind of our psychic abilities, our ability again to see maybe the unseen, to tap into our own intuition. So practices to cultivate our third eye, tend to be more reflective, meditation, maybe candle gazing, focusing on that ability to see or to see light, to visualize that light from within. Let's take Daryodhani's take on it. And he actually has two of these pictures or mandalas for the sixth chakra. So obviously Jung felt this was a really important chakra, developing this one is psychic and imagination, and the other one is vision and system. So he actually breaks the chakra down into two sets. So I'll just show you his one for vision and systems, which he says, using our third eye, we gain working knowledge of the world's many invisible processes, tap life's numerous resources, and judge wisely. Here's this one. And then I'll show you other one. I like this one. Psychic and imagination. We tap strange imagery from the unconscious, get in touch with many archetypes, and perform alchemy for spiritual growth. So, let's see. Creative. So we talked about this chakra as getting integral. Some mindful activities, like creating your future, replacing bad habits. Getting integral, what does he mean by that? Whenever you have an idea or endeavor, consider how to make it whole and complete. For example, when tending your outdoor garden, consider how choices and changes will impact the whole system. Build something. Give thanks each day for the blessings of civilization and the fruits of turning reason into reality. And then on the more creative psychic side, he talks about inspiring growth, engaging in creative projects, looking for patterns, integrate polarities. Notice when you're pulled in different directions by conflicting parts of yourself. Some parts are quiet or angry. Learn to evolve or to evoke these parts through imagination, dream work, or such. Hear from each part and find ways to reconcile their needs. During meditation, focus on visualizing or communing with the archetypes. And give thanks each day for your life's teachers. Consider any spiritual guides or conceptual tools like the chakra framework. Include your unconscious, which is home to all the parts of you that generate your creativity and help you grow. Take a moment to be still. Feel the roots and that journey we've taken all the way up now to the crown. Maybe visualize a lotus flower there. This chakra can be related to the color light purple or white. Almost feel it opening, like there's a little portal at your crown. The yogis say this is the place where spirit enters the body, or where we connect to spirit, connect to a sense of wellness, oneness, wholeness. Can you feel a sense of lightness and brightness at the crown of your head? So when you're ready, we'll contemplate the developmental stage of the crown, and this one is throughout life. So throughout our life, we have this opportunity to connect with the divine within ourselves, the divine in all things. It's related to thought. It has the right to know, maybe to know the divine. It's related to awareness. So many ways to work on our crown chakra. Typically, mountain pose is thought of as a really grounding pose, and it definitely is. It helps with that root chakra, but it's also a pose to cultivate this lift and awareness right out through the crown, because that crown just is like literally reaching up towards the universe, towards our creator. So I feel like just being in mountain pose can really give us that sense of connectivity. Other ways on our yoga mat to cultivate the crown are to make it quiet, contemplate that sense of oneness, wholeness within ourselves. Believe, I'm not going to go there because we're winding down, but the Pure Heart of Yoga has a lot of good recommendations for specific yoga poses that help cultivate the different chakras. But I just find using our creativity of, the other chakras, we could really bring in each chakra to pretty much any pose if we bring our awareness to it. Such as in cat and cow, we could bring our awareness to our root, we could bring our awareness to the heart, the throat, or definitely the crown. So tree pose, we could bring our awareness to the root, to the sacral area, or we could bring our awareness to the crown, that sense of connectivity, being one with nature. So our yoga practice is just fueled with ways for us to be creative and tap into the innate healing that we need into pretty much each posture. So let's see our last mandala. So he talks of the crown chakra as unity and awakening. When we activate our Kundalini energy, chakras open and align, boundaries and polarities vanish, and ego merges with the cosmos. It's a lot. Have a look at the picture. So he starts with balancing that crown chakra by saying, get awakened. Here are some mindful activities with this chakra to cultivate a life of compassion and wisdom. Number 1, engage in a spiritual practice. And whatever that practice is, it could be your yoga, it could be your time in nature, church, prayer, anything. Really could be a spiritual practice. He says, stay awake. Our senses and society tell us that worldly concerns are what matters. But consider, like in the film The Matrix, the world is possibly a simulation. Maybe consciousness is all there is. And though there appears to be separation, what if all is one? What if all is one? To stay awake, act as though the world is a comprehensive illusion where we, everyone, only interacts with the shadows of things. That's pretty deep. Renounce worldly distractions, stay responsible, act as a spiritual guide. And during meditation or yoga, practice extending and deepening your experience of divine light. Moreover, look for ways to call it forth regularly during everyday waking life, such that you become the calm in the eye of any storm, standing and moving with detached compassion and curious indifference, to be a part of the world, but not of it. Give thanks each day for the gift and mystery of your very existence. Give thanks for the many opportunities to learn and grow, even when painful. And give thanks to all other souls who've struggled to leave the world a better place. Gratitude grants peace in the eye of life's storms. Special little thank you to Dario Nardi for his inspiration in our talk today. Young on Yoga, if anyone's interested. So I feel like that was a lot of information. You might want to break it down and just watch little bits and pieces at a time. But I thought I'd close our time together with a sip of cold tea. Just kidding. With just a little, actually closing from The 8 Human Talents by Gurmit. She's a kind of famous Kundalini teacher from California, I believe, and I've loved this book. I tend to read books and not always read all of it, but I read all of this book because I just really liked her style, her writing, and her take on the chakras. Even the title, The 8 Human Talents. So she doesn't speak of deficiencies too much. She speaks of them as talents. So I just wanted to read to you how she interprets each of the chakras. So the first chakra, the root, she calls acceptance. The second chakra, creativity. The third chakra, solar plexus, commitment. The fourth chakra, heart, compassion. The fifth chakra, throat, truth. The sixth chakra, third eye, intuition. The seventh chakra, crown, boundlessness. And in Kundalini, they speak of an eighth chakra, radiance. Let me just speak on that because that might be new for some of us. In the Kundalini Yoga view of the chakra system, we see the human form as having an eighth chakra. This eighth chakra is the electromagnetic field that surrounds your entire body. The eighth chakra or auric field extends around the entire physical body up to about 9 feet. The quality that emanates from this final chakra is the human talent of radiance. The color that is associated with this chakra is the color of white. The color we most often attribute to light itself, or the spectrum of light, that it descends from the infinite into the physical realm. So that's just a little bit on the eighth chakra. I was going, because I usually think of the crown chakra that is sometimes light purple as white. So I'm wondering if for me I'm kind of extending that crown chakra to that quality of radiance, or tagging it in some way. Just a thought. So I just wanted to leave you with this final thought from the conclusion from Purna. And she really brings it back to me that this is just one system. Our bodies are like complex worlds within worlds. You know where they begin and end, and yet they are vast and full of mysteries we can never understand. No machine has ever been devised by man that is as complex or artful as a human body. The ancient system of chakras is simply one of the ways of understanding our own bodies on a metaphysical level. Although we ascribe certain emotions or qualities to these power centers, we know there is a constant flow or subtle interaction going on all the time. When we are frightened, our hearts beat faster and we breathe more rapidly. So we may choose to classify fear as the shadow emotion of the heart chakra, as a way of understanding how fear operates in our lives. Then at times when fear becomes overwhelming, it can seep into all the chakras. We feel it in the tightening of our throat and the butterflies in our stomach. So you can see the chakra system is not a concrete system of absolutes. Our bodies are mostly water, and we have to acknowledge that just as there is a constant flow within the body, so must there be flow between the chakras and the human talents we ascribe to them. And just closing our time together, borrowing from the Kundalini tradition. Just close your eyes, breathe. Maybe tap into that radiant talent, that eighth chakra, all around you. Breathe into it, feel it. May the long-time sun shine upon you. All love surround you. And the pure light within you guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Sat Nam and Namaste.